Hi there, welcome along to Transfer Talk. 2 weeks left in the transfer window and so much can happen. Iber Eze's Crystal Palace future is in the balance. Will he leave this summer? Jadon Sancho is free to leave Manchester United, but he won't be going to Roma. Plus, does Ruben Amorim need to sign a new goalkeeper?
It's a glaring issue for United that can't be ignored, and that is that they do need to find a goalkeeper. They have to. I'm absolutely unequivocal on that.
Also on the way, Christopher Nkunku can leave Chelsea this summer, but a European giant's attempts to sign him has failed. And it's a third new signing in as many days for Nottingham Forest as they bring in Arnaud Kalimuendu from Rennes. A very good afternoon to you, wherever you're watching us this afternoon, to European football expert Kevin Hatchard and to Mark McAdam. One place to start, that's Manchester. Welcome back. Time now for our transfer update. Crystal Palace want to line up a replacement before considering selling Iber Eze to Tottenham. Among their targets are Club Brugge's Christos Solis and Leicester's Bilal El-Khanous. Mark Gay has a big decision to make about his future as Liverpool continue talks with Palace about signing the centre-back. Pep Guardiola said Ederson missed their opening win over Wolves because of illness amid speculation over his Man City future. Bayern Munich have failed with an attempt to sign Chelsea forward Christopher Nkunku on loan. Chelsea and Nkunku prefer a permanent move, and he is valued at £43 million this summer. Keith Andrews confirmed there has been no movement on Johan Wissa's future after he missed the defeat to Nottingham Forest. Newcastle United are also interested in Paris Saint-Germain striker Gonzalo Ramos amid the uncertainty of Alexander Isak's future. Arsenal, they're focused on sales, with Fenerbahce interested in left-back Alexander Zinchenko. Manchester United are unlikely to pursue a move for Brighton midfielder Carlos Baleba this summer, and Rasmus Højlund is yet to be convinced by AC Milan's proposal to sign him on loan from United. Don't forget, you can keep across all the latest information as it happens on our dedicated Transfer Centre blog. You can scan the QR code which is on your screen right now. Bournemouth beaten by Liverpool on the opening day of the Premier League season. Plenty of encouraging signs, though. And, Mark, they should be encouraged because it looks like they're set to make a signing.
Yeah, very close now to announcing this one. We understand that Ben Doak of Liverpool has completed the first part of his Bournemouth medical. The total package is worth £25 million. Spent a little bit of time on loan in the Championship last season. Joined Liverpool from Celtic. He's a pint-sized winger, but I really like him. Direct, pacey, technically very good. Always looked like a threat every single time I watched him. And I'm impressed by what Bournemouth have done. I know a lot of the narrative this summer has been players have been sold for huge prices. But you have to remember that Bill Foley, the owner, when he went into the football club, he injected around £250 million in the first two transfer windows, spent more again in the third transfer window. So they've actually had an outlay of about £300 million on top of spending money on the training ground and the stadium redevelopment. So it's not like there's someone that's gone in, just sold all the best players. They've actually generated huge sums of money from the investment they made initially. And their recruitment's been absolutely outstanding. They've really got everything spot on. So therefore, Ben Doak, another player to replace Luis Sinisterra, who's heading to Brazil on loan, I think could be a really exciting one. And Liverpool do have a buyback option on that as well. So I think that shows you how much they like the player, the fact that they say, well, yeah, we'll sell him, but he could be a superstar.
OK, let's get to Manchester City because they put in an impressive display against Wolves, maybe a statement in their opening game of the season against Wolves. Pep Guardiola has been rebuilding his squad since January and has spent £160 million already this summer. But he says the current squad needs trimming. Mark, Ederson, Savinho, could they be two players to depart?
Yeah, this is it's a fascinating situation here. There's been a lot of talk about Manchester City goalkeepers. There's been a constant noise about Ederson over the course of the last, 12 months or so as he gets closer to the end of his Manchester City contract, and whilst he's won everything whilst he's been there, then suddenly he looks at other options and thinks, right, it's now the time for a new challenge. He wasn't involved this weekend because of stomach problems, and the Manchester City doctors advised him to stay at home in Manchester whilst the club travelled to the Midlands. We know that Galatasaray have offered a deal which we understand to be around €10 million. Manchester City want the player to stay. There's no desire to sell someone of his experience at this stage. We know that Savinho wasn't involved over the course of this weekend as well. Noises around Rico Lewis and Claudio Echeverri as well. Sky in Italy suggesting that Dortmund are interested in him. So, yeah, whilst there has been a lot of recruitment in January and at the start of this summer, it feels like there's a lot of focus now on players that potentially could be leaving the Etihad.
We'll wait to see who starts in goal for Manchester City this weekend. Will it be James Trafford, who kept a clean sheet on Saturday, or if Ederson's fit again, if his stomach's all right, will he get the nod? One player who got the nod was Tijani Reinders, and he was incredible on Saturday.
Yeah, brilliant. No surprise. Does everything so well. He carries the ball incredibly well, scores goals. We saw that with Milan. He's not a defensively minded midfielder, but he can fill in the gaps. He can do all of that as well. And you can see why people are talking about him as the long-term replacement for Gundogan. And obviously, he's in that team already. But he's got a lot of Gundogan about him in terms of he's multifunctional, he can do lots of different things. It's his composure as well that always strikes me. He went to Italian football, settled in like it was no problem at all. I think he's going to be a phenomenal signing for Manchester City.
And Ryan Cherky, we saw him come off the bench, make an impact. We see his skill set. Surprising not more clubs went in for him in the summer because City got him for a really good fee. What impact do you see him having this season? Because clearly minutes are always going to be an issue of Pep, especially when you consider the number of brilliant attacking players they have right now.
I'm sure there'll be requirements tactically that Pep will put on his shoulders. If he listens to those, if he's willing to go along with those, the sky's the limit for him. I think he is so talented technically. You don't want to necessarily smooth off too many of the rough edges.
Which maybe we saw with Jack Grealish.
Because you would lose a bit. Well, Grealish, I guess, was asked to do a very specific role and did it well because ultimately was a part of that treble-winning team, so has won a lot of City. But I think it was jarring for people because they'd seen him play a certain way for Villa. He was asked to do a totally different thing. But I think actually, if you look at Doku, for example, for City, I think a lot of people felt the same with him, that, well, there's this guy who wants to take people on, he's got all this one-on-one ability, is he going to have that coached out of him? Actually, no. I think what we've seen with him is that Guardiola says, go and do your thing, take people on, open up space for others. I hope that's what we'll see with Cherky because he's an unbelievable player. OK,
like Manchester City, Arsenal off and running in the Premier League after their win over Manchester United yesterday. Off the pitch, the club remain focused on sales before they consider whether having to go back into the market, if they can go back into the market. I know it's boring for Arsenal fans, Mark, but where do we stand in terms of outgoings? Do you think they can do enough in terms of outgoings to maybe spend some more?
Depends on the type of sales they make and the players that depart. I don't think there's some huge figures going to be attached to the potential sales, and Arsenal actually haven't really been one of those clubs that's been able to generate huge sums of money for player sales. You look at Liverpool, Manchester City, they've been exceptional at it, whereas sides like Manchester United and Arsenal have struggled. And you can see, you look at their first team departures this summer, they've only made £10 million, which for a club like Arsenal and the type of quality that they have within their squad, you'd expect that to be far greater than it currently is, a number of players going on free transfers. The players that potentially could be added to that list, Zinchenko, we know that Fenerbahce are interested and Arsenal are prepared to listen to suitable offers for Alexander. He has 1 year left on his contract, so it feels like now is the right time. Brilliant servant, really. Probably one of those players that's a victim of being having the ability to play in multiple positions, at left back, in midfield, on the left-hand side. We know that Fabio Vieira is another player that is potentially heading out of the Emirates. Stuttgart are in talks with Arsenal at the moment. He went on loan to Porto last season. He's got 2 years left on his contract, but again, significant investment, £35 million in the player. They're not going to get anywhere close to that, so therefore it's another one of those sales that doesn't really work financially. And we know that Fulham are currently still in talks with Arsenal with regards to Reece Nelson and a possible loan deal there. So yeah, some more players that could be added to that list, but not sizable in terms of fees, so therefore going back into the market to replace them might not be as simple.
I think the Fabio Vieira thing to Stuttgart makes a lot of sense. Enzo Mio's just left them to go to Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia, so they need that kind of 10, somebody who can buzz around behind the strikers and really pull the strings and be creative, he would be a perfect fit. And I think with more space and time in the Bundesliga, we'd probably see the best of him.
Yeah, it feels like we've not seen the best of him at the Emirates. In terms of Victor Gyökeres, one of the new signings that came in, lots of hopes pinned on him. Mikel Arteta admitted that some of his signings aren't quite up to the top level yet. What did you make of his debut at Old Trafford?
It's going to take time. It's going to take service. It was a game where obviously Arsenal were trying to contain United, trying to control the game, weren't dominant in terms of the attacking part of the game. But I think he does have all the attributes that you need. He's got the physicality to cope with the Premier League. We've seen the shot volumes, we've seen the goal volumes have been unbelievable when he's been at Sporting. But also we've seen good performances in the Champions League. So I'm sure that will come. Zubimendi, I think, more encouraging because that was the kind of game that you need him to do his thing in. And what is his thing? Control, great passing, interceptions and tackles when he needs them, and generally just screening that defence. And what it will allow is it will allow Declan Rice to be more attacking in a lot of games. It will allow that freedom further forward. So I thought encouraging from him. He had a slice towards the end, which was a bit scary, but he got away with that. But generally very good.
OK, there's loads still to come this lunchtime on Transfer Talk. Kevin's going to tell you everything you need to know about Nottingham Forest's latest signing. He looks brilliant. And there's a new defender in at Sunderland as well. Stay with us.